of La Penta. This is WICR.
Welcome back, Iona College. We're back here live. We got the MLB ALDS all wrapped up for you. Fortunate to have all that wrapped up already. We're already on the way of getting into the ALCS, actually. We're going to get you into that also. So we're going to get into the ALDS first, starting with Kansas City. Kansas City took on the Oakland Athletics in the ALDS.
In the wild card.
In the wild card. That was the wild card game. Kansas City beat them 9-8. That was in 12 innings. And don't forget, we mentioned last week that this was the first game played in Kansas City playoffs, even at home or in playoffs at all, total. First game since 1985. So this was a huge game for them. They had a lot of adrenaline going into the game. And now they ended up winning 9-8 in 12 innings, extra innings. Oakland was actually up during this game, 7-3, all the way until the 8th inning. Then KC scored 3 in the bottom of the 8th, brought it back to 7-6, and then scored 1 more in the 9th to send it to extra innings. And in extra innings, you had Salvador Perez, before being 0 for 5 the whole rest of the night, hitting a walk-off single to bring in the winning run in the 12th inning. So this was a huge sigh of relief in Kansas City. They were definitely nervous with their team on the edge for a long time there. But once that all happened, they got everything sorted out, so it went well for them. Then they moved on to the ALDS when they played LA. And coming into this series, you had LA Angels we were talking about. LA, they had the best record in the AL. So now we're looking at a wild card team here that hasn't made the playoffs since 1985. Now they're going up against the best record in the AL. So for this series was huge for them. It turned out to be that KC advanced on by sweeping them completely. You had LA Angels, who were 34 games over 500 during the regular season, versus the KC, who had only 16 games over 500. So this is just the whole idea that we explained to you last week about playoff baseball. This is what happens in the MLB. Anything can happen at any point in time for all of sports in that matter, really. But baseball is really unique in the way that these things happen. Like, you wouldn't expect a huge underdog team to beat this favorite team, and especially in a sweep. They took, to break down the ALDS in a summary real quick for you guys, they took 2 games in 11 innings, back-to-back games actually, and both of those games were away for KC. They were in LA, both games, and they both went to 11 innings. The first game they won 3-2, second game they won 4-1. Then they came back home for the third game, and they won at home. They won 8-3 in front of their own fans. So, G, what do you got to say about the KC fans? How do you think they got to be feeling right now about their team going into the ALCS?
Oh, man, Vin, I'm sure it's like they've already won a World Series to them. In the way that you've had a team, like we said, 1985, so close to 30 years of not even making the postseason. They just haven't had this kind of baseball in forever. October baseball, and then they sweep the LA Angels. This is what we were just talking about. Look at the roster that the Angels have. We have Mike Trout, arguably the best in baseball with, Miguel Cabrera, but I mean, he's one of the best, still young. We have Albert Pujols on that team. Great pitching all over. Like you said, best record in the AL. So many experienced guys and so many young guys that are really good as well. And then we have KC, who has some pitching, some guys in their lineup. Like, we have James Shields. We have Gordon in the lineup. We have Perez, who was an all-star. But besides that, who knew? Who would have thought that KC would sweep the LA Angels? It just adds to the element, like you said. Baseball is unique in that way. Anything can happen, literally. That's even before we even get into Baltimore and the Tigers, which we'll get into in a second. But, I mean, for the fans, just has to be overwhelming for them in a way. I mean, they must be excited. And hopefully they can see their team extend the postseason even more and try to win the ALCS. But, I mean, 3 games, it still boggles my mind. I really didn't see it coming. I got my own pick wrong. Like I said last week for the wild card, right. I picked Oakland to go over Kansas City. So they definitely smashed me in that way. They told me I was wrong. And then I thought LA was going to take that, whoever won that wild card game, not sweep them, but I thought LA would go on, and they got swept. So I'm definitely wrong in that. But I mean, it's just got to be a great feeling for these fans.
Yeah, we got a huge turnaround with the whole MLB playoffs now. I think a lot of people, not just you, I agreed with you also with taking Oakland. And, now all of a sudden, then we get into, we already had them in the first game losing.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about, we're in the ALCS now. So we got a whole different complete turnaround here. We got this team now. They'll be going up against Baltimore now. So now we're going to get into Baltimore. They're going to play Baltimore in the ALCS. That's going to be starting on Friday night. And Baltimore will be starting off home during this series. No pitchers that are announced as of yet. Baltimore actually swept also. They swept Detroit. And they took 2 at home, 1 on the road. And you got these 2 teams now. They're coming in. They both swept their opponents in the ALDS. And you had Baltimore, who was very well rested, being that they had took their division in the AL East. Our Yankee people are, as you guys could see on Ustream, my Yankee shirt. We're big Yankee fans in here, but we couldn't be there this year. Hopefully next year we'll get back at it. But yeah, so Baltimore was sitting in a good spot. They took the sweep against Detroit. So now, what are you looking at now? Now I know last time you went 1-1, and I went 0-2 actually. So I took Pittsburgh last week, which they lost right away. We'll get into the NL after this, but I'm 0-2. You're 1-1. So what do you got for the ALCS now?
Man, it's just a really tough pick because both of these teams are cruising right now. Like literally, they are just straight cruising through this series. They are very comfortable. They played comfortable. It looked like they swept 3-0. They both went 3-0, and now we have 2 teams that are well rested in this ALCS. So I don't really know what to pick. With the home field advantage, I'm just gonna take Baltimore. I hate to keep being so harsh on Kansas City because I already told them they weren't gonna make the wild card. I already said they weren't gonna even win against the Angels, and they've made it this far. They're in the championship series now, and whoever wins is going to the World Series. But I just feel like Baltimore has played well all year long. Maybe face a little bit more competition, I guess. And I just feel like they can. It's going to be a close series, though. Don't get me wrong. It might go to 7 or 6 or 7 games. But I just feel like Baltimore is going to the World Series this year. But I wouldn't be shocked if I'm proved wrong again. So what do you think?
All right. Well, this one's going to be hard, like we said. This is a hard pick here. I always like to ride the team that is basically the shocker in the playoffs.
The underdogs, of course.
So, obviously in this case, it's the Kansas City Royals. I would love to see them go to the World Series. The last time they were in the playoffs and the only time that they won the World Series was in that year, in 1985. So, I would love to see them go far, but my pick for this game is going to have to be the Orioles for this series. I apologize. For this series is going to have to be the Orioles. I've seen them play all year. Us Yankee fans, we've seen them play all year. We play them AL East, and they just been, I can't even lie. They've been very dominant. Their division was owed to them. So we'll see how they do. Like you said, maybe it will. I don't think it'll be a sweep. Maybe KC will win 1 in there, so maybe I'll say Orioles in 5.
Wow, bold statement.
So, but we're interested to see because now you never know. As we said, this KC team, they got confidence behind them right now. They got young kids on the team that have a lot of confidence behind them right now going into this series, and especially after that LA series. So it'll be interesting, definitely, to see who's going to go to the World Series this year, and then even going further on from that. So that'll wrap up the AL side of the MLB. We're going to get into the NL side after this in a short moment. We got the NLDS still going on. Actually, a game going on in what is it now? About 15 minutes?
Yep.
Right after our broadcast. So we're going to get you covered for all that, get you prepared, and we'll be back. So don't go anywhere. Thank you.